We're at 6604 West Cedar in Wauwatosa, 12th of October, 1995. Now about 60 or 61 degrees. Another beautiful day. Soil conditions are a little bit on the wet side. We've had some fairly consistent light rain over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Nothing individually real heavy, but pretty even light showers over the last several weeks. Greenery is all natural. I don't think anybody's watered too much in the last couple of months. Okay, roofing. This is backside, of course. I think this might be the 4th layer of shingles on here. I can count at least 3, and I have a strong suspicion there's 4. And as you know, and it really should have torn off at a maximum of 3. 2 is actually recommended. 3 is commonly done. 4 is really stretching it. These are pretty new. These are probably anywhere from about 4 to 8 years of age. Okay, so chimneys, I think you can pretty well see that thing is definitely in need of tuck pointing. I don't think rebuilding, but a lot of tuck pointing. And the rear chimney for the fireplace, just off to our left, also has a lot of mortar that's missing. Down, probably about 5 feet or so from the top. And flashings look alright. A little surprised they didn't put a saddle in behind this chimney. Usually you'll have a little pitched roof behind a broad chimney like that to direct the water around. And I wouldn't be surprised if we find evidence of past leaks on the inside. One of the really nice features here is that they've replaced the interior gutters. This is relatively new metal here. And it looks like they did that probably 2 roofs ago from the looks of this. So I think those probably had been in pretty tough shape. Okay, the roofing over the porch, or the garage rather, this is a plastic sheet. And you don't see this too often on residential applications. This is seen more often on commercial and industrial buildings. And from what I can see, it looks okay. Generally, this is a pretty decent material. I think they've done some patching. Where was that? Over in here. Probably punctured it, most likely. And obviously, this is repairable. And putting the wooden deck down like this is not a bad idea. Keep the foot traffic off of the material. However, the deck leaves a lot to be desired. I broke one of them just stepping on the edge here. And you can see a lot of the others have been replaced. And keep it in sections that you can lift up and clean underneath, because you want to get rid of the debris from here occasionally. And I suspect, I doubt if there's a roof drain in the center of this thing. This whole thing, the low point, seems to be in the center. So I'm wagering it probably holds a lot of water in the course of melting snow and rain. We'll look inside, see if there's a drain here, but I would be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised either if the structure is pretty sagged underneath here. The chimney, this is pretty useless. Your fire code people won't want you to have a wood burner or anything in that garage. If you do install a heater, you'll want to install it at least about 6 or 7 feet above the floor level. Yeah, front side of the roof should be the same setup here. 3, probably 4 layers, same age. Top layer's pretty new. And I'll get up on that east porch in a little bit. Alright, up over the east porch now. Yeah, here's the drain for this thing, if you can see that. I had to get the leaves out of it. And I guess that's connected to its own downspout. You can see this is going to be a real son of a gun to keep this thing clear. And this thing is pitched pretty steeply, so if that thing backs up, you could easily build up several inches of water in here. The elevation from here to here is probably 4 or 5 inches. Come on up, Dan. Yeah, metal turn roof, tarred over. We'll check it from below. Can't see too much here. Okay, guttering. Yeah, this side in the front, it looks like they've replaced the gutters on here as well. These I gotta look at with the binoculars. And downspouts here both seem to be intact. They've got reasonable length extensions coming off. House this age is not going to have drain tile, same as your house on Woodlawn. And you're already aware of all of the peeling paint on the siding and the trim and so forth. One suggestion is when you do paint at the metal flashings over the headers of the windows, I'd suggest, both there and whatever exposed sheet metal is on the roofs here, that you wire brush those down and apply a Rust-Oleum style primer, galvanized primer, and then do your finished painting over that, and then you'll avoid the peeling that typically occurs and help protect it from rusting. Let's see. Yeah, I guess the lot line actually runs almost through here, because this tree is supposedly belongs to the county. According to the realtor, this land did belong to this property at one time, and they gave it to the county for the parkland. And while we're speaking of trees, be particularly wary of the overhanging trees in this location. There are many limbs here that look very, very iffy as to whether or not they're healthy and stable. And some of these branches, if they come off and come down through your roof, will do tremendous damage. So I'd suggest you have a tree person, I think they call that an arborist, come through here as soon as possible and determine which limbs should be trimmed out. And of course, all of the branches should be kept clear of the roofing materials. For instance, this one, within a few years, will be brushing up against the side of the house. Alright, the sun porch, we're up on that roof drain that I cautioned you about, keeping clear. The actual gutter itself, where it drains through the soffit there, that's wide open. You could practically put your fist into the interior of that drain pipe. So that's pretty well shot. Window wells look to be okay, the basement window wells, and drainage, of course, they're fairly good with that. You'll remember I pointed out up on top that there's no saddle up behind that chimney, and that is unusual, especially for an older home. Once in a while I'll see some of the newer ones without them, but it's very unusual to see it on an older, not see them on an older home. Grading wise, you've got a low spot in here. You could certainly stand to add some fill in here and get the positive pitch away. The garage, we've determined that this section from about here over was an addition. And you can readily see the settlement that's occurring. It's obvious at the window frames. The settlement of the slab and the foundation is not much of a concern at all. Typically those are more or less a one-time occurrence. This end is probably down, oh, maybe, what, 3-4 inches or so. The electrical wiring to this light, we'll see it from the inside, is poorly done, improperly done. Yeah, right up here, the person who did it used just regular wiring that's suitable for use inside of a conduit, not unprotected like that. He didn't even bother to use Romex, and actually Romex would have been suitable since it's fished through the wall and all protected. Okay, here's our clue that this was an add-on, the difference in the concrete, the difference in the ceiling paneling here, and the settling that's occurred. It's quite severe, but probably stabilized by now. My real concern with this addition is the fact that the low point of the roof is right in here, and it's most likely that there's a beam running right through here that supports the new section and the old section. And it's entirely possible that there has been a severe fracture of that beam that's resulted in that settlement of the roof framing. And this is the type of thing that, even though it's been here for many, many years, a type of failure like that could be sudden and catastrophic. And if you get just the wrong combination of circumstances, conditions, it's conceivable that this ceiling could collapse. So I would suggest that you expose this area and have a structural engineer in here to evaluate how the thing is built and what damage may have taken place and what can be done to reinforce it. Let's see, the remark on the basement or the garage page about fire separation, you're exempt from that. That came into being with the state code in 1955, and almost all municipalities grandfather that part of the code for older buildings. All right, the electrical, yeah, this is a fairly recent upgrade. They only went to 100 amp though. That's a bit surprising. And the oil tank is located down in here, supposedly filled with sand in the 1970s, which, as you understand now, satisfies the government agencies, but may not necessarily satisfy the lenders. The lenders are not always happy with that situation because there was no investigative work done in those days when they filled these things with sand. So there could actually be soil contamination underneath there that no one knows about. So oftentimes the lenders are more of a problem than the government agencies. Okay, outside, yeah, our wood's generally in pretty good shape. Still lots of peeling paint and so forth, but I haven't seen any areas of decay. There's just slight sections that are dried out and split and so forth, but nothing that I see that needs replacement. The concrete work, let's see, we got one slab here that could probably be replaced, and there's another one out at the juncture of the two neighboring driveways. Right in here, I think you'd probably want to do something with this. This one's going to be throwing chunks of concrete before too long. Alright, I think that pretty well does the outside. Okay, basement now. Yeah, the discoloration along here, using an electronic meter on the wood paneling, I'm reading as high as 20%, which is maximum on that meter, down near the baseboard, and I can read it all the way up. And over in here as well. And you can tell by the discoloration of the mopboard that the moisture here has been quite heavy. And they might have actually had small amounts of leakage. Some of the tile is slightly loose on the floor, which should indicate repeated exposure to water. And there's some decay in the corner right there of the moldings and so forth. So the grading on the exterior is nearly as high as it can possibly go. The grade cannot be built up much more than another inch or two around the perimeter of the building, because it's virtually up to the floor joist system of the first floor. So, and they're already pretty good with their roof downspout extensions. So the next step is drain tile work, I'm afraid. I don't think much else can be done from the exterior. So if you want this thing to be absolutely really dry, I think you're going to have to invest a fair amount of money in drain tile work, interior drain tile work. Generally, that's around $35 to $50 per linear foot to cut open the floor and install interior drain tile and put in a sump crock and so forth. Okay, underneath the sunroom, this is most likely original to the house, I believe. Haven't figured out what that pipe is for though. Apparently it used to go through this wall. It's currently dead ends into the paneling on the other side. Unless this was used as a cistern, and that's possible that it was used as a cistern, but I'd be a little surprised. Okay, at the front wall, this is towards the east end again now. Again, I can get fairly high readings in the paneling here as far as moisture goes. You can see the discoloration of the tile and so forth, the staining of the quarter round at the bottom, the shoe molding. All indications of excessive moisture. Also possible leakage here based on the looseness of the tiles and so forth. Same situation. The grading on the exterior is about as high as it can be taken. The roof drainage is already in reasonable shape. So again, the next step would be, if you want it to be totally dry, I think you'd probably be looking at investing into drain tile. Alright, at the back, the west side of the building, the laundry area, gas dryer facility. If you're not going to use this gas line, be sure to put a pipe cap on the end of it. Currently it's shut off by a valve up above the breaker panel. Breakers, 100 amp setup here. They don't have any 220 appliances tapped into the system, so it's just feeding lights and outlets and so forth. So 100 amp is more than adequate for the current situation here. But you got plenty of power left to add electric range, electric dryer if you like. Actually, you could even possibly do central air if you wanted to retrofit the other systems. Plumbing system in this area, you can see a lot of the new copper supplies in here. And the thing that bothered me a little bit was, let's see, it was this pipe, the galvanized pipe. You can see that rust mark right in here. That was probably a pinhole leak that sealed itself off. There's another one over here. And there's another one that's that top fuzzy on the top of the pipe there. That's probably another leak that sealed itself. And there's one on the right that was sealed by a human being. That's a pipe clamp put over a hole in the pipe. Now it's possible they might have had a tap off at one time for an ice maker too, and they closed it off using that thing. That's possible. You do have lead pipes coming up through the floor. That's, I think, is the only one left in service that I had seen. However, that looks like it might be feeding the kitchen sink, cold water. That new pipe there, that's a new flue pipe for the furnace, which is, I imagine they probably replaced when they bought this a couple of years ago. And the boiler is the original boiler itself. The burner was replaced a couple of years back, and this is in great shape. Not terribly efficient, but this thing will probably last another 80 years. I wouldn't be surprised at all. The refractory inside is very good. No problem with that. The gas burner is relatively new. They've upgraded some of the piping. They put in a low water cutoff here. Your boiler fill valve, which they've been kind enough to mark for you, is right here. You do want to keep the water level in roughly the center 2/3 of this glass here. Actually, if it drops below this level, the cutoff will probably keep it from running anyway. But check this after you first move in here. Check it frequently and see how this system behaves. Some systems are very tight, others lose more water than normal. So worst case is you may have to add water every 3 or 4 months, or every 3 or 4 weeks. Best case, you might have to add it once or twice a year. Okay, through here, dampness, all we have is efflorescence, nothing too horrible. And the copper line coming from the street, and we're going back to this new copper. And a lot of this stuff is new in here. Alright, water heater is not that old either. It was 1991. And I replaced that flue pipe also. No surprises on that. The oil tank is located out on the west side of the building, and we've had our discussion about that. The tank is reportedly filled with sand, but most lenders won't be happy with that. So you may want to consider removing it entirely and being done with it. Interior structure checks out lovely. Nice heavy beams through here, big center supports. They brace this thing up, I'm not sure why. I think that's underneath the front entryway. Yes, they did run all new copper going up, didn't they? That's to the second floor bathroom. That's why that was so nice up there. And looks like some abatement work was done on the asbestos all around the basement. It's been pretty well encapsulated. Okay, sunroom. This checks out nicely. No sign of any leakage from the roof up above here. And I ran a moisture check over in that corner. Couldn't pick up a thing. And this is over what might have been a cistern at one time. Pretty darn good shape. Doesn't look like they've had trouble with the roof. The living room, however, has active moisture. Just a trace of it in the ceiling right up in here. And then I can pick up moisture up and down this wall, a little bit over on the front wall as well. So the source of that starts way up, because we can also find wall in the moisture in the wall in the bedroom up above. Living room, let's see, the fireplace is unusual in as much as the smoke chamber, instead of being a very generous, tall, funnel-shaped smoke chamber, is almost dead flat. The flue starts just about right above the damper, so it's a very shallow lead into the flue. That may affect how well this thing drafts. You may have to do a little extra work and preheat the flue by burning paper before you begin burning the wood. Sometimes that will assist it enough so that it'll draw decently. It's not science in the design of those things, it's more of an art. Okay, front entry. This is be the bathroom up above here. You can see they've wallpapered the ceiling in here. And this is where they've got that brace down in the boiler room. Center stairs. And this opens to the dining room. And the peeling paint up here, ran a moisture check on that, and it turns to be, it is totally dry. It's probably related to the earlier bathroom.
We're taking out purchases. The only ones that bought them are the finals.
The finals? They're a pain in the butt.
They're so much harder.
Okay, second floor, center hallway. Forgot to mention when we were looking at the breaker panel. The house, based on my guess of the age at 1914, would most likely have knob and tube wiring. And I think you're familiar with that, Dan. It's the ungrounded stuff. And it is an issue primarily in areas where you're subject to electrical grounding, such as in a bathroom where you might have your hand on a faucet while at the same time you're using your hair dryer. So in those locations, if you use a ground fault circuit interrupter, you've got protection. Now, staining up there in the corner, I can't detect any current moisture in that stain. However, the location of that is pretty close to what we found to be moisture up in the attic. And there's also, the closet is to the right here. There's also a little bit of discoloration in the ceiling up there that's probably related to the same source. It's most likely caused by a leak around the hatch to the roof. I'll show you that when we get upstairs. This is the southeast bedroom. And it's this corner that has the moisture. You can see the peeling paint and so forth down along the radiator. However, the moisture, I can read moisture up to about eye level in here, and pretty heavy moisture in this wall as well. So most likely it's a gutter or a roof leak up somewhere near the corner of the roof. I can't even begin to guess the cause of that or the reasoning behind it, but all the clues point that direction. Okay, up the northwest bedroom, this is up above the kitchen now. Pretty straightforward in here. Added on closet there. Everything else is right here. And the bedroom at the southwest. This checks fine. Let's see. In here, I ran some checks on the cracks up above here and around the chimney and couldn't pick up any moisture activity. And looks great from the attic as well, so not likely anything going on. The cracks in the walls, if you're accustomed to plaster, that's pretty normal. Okay, and a redone bathroom on the second floor. Pretty well done. Flow rates are excellent. Apparently they did pull up entire new copper supply lines. There's an exhaust fan with the switch in the closet here. The ground fault is installed. They reverse the hot and the neutral. However, with this type of unit, you'll still get full protection anyway, so it doesn't affect it. Okay, attic, and they've covered the rafters, so we're not able to see any of the structure up here. I did cut a hole in it over here just to see if they've insulated that, but they have not, which is just as well. The discolorations along the edge here, I spot checked those for dampness. The only location in which I could find moisture is underneath this old attic hatch, and down along the edge there, that is actually wet to the touch right now. And that pretty well corresponds. That closet should be just about right in here. The marks in the hallway ceiling above the out back porch door be roughly in here. Odds are great that it's some sort of leak around this hatch and it's traveling down between the layers of the shingles, which I think there are 4 layers of shingles, and probably finding a hole to discharge itself way down there. So that's the most likely scenario. The other roof leak or gutter leak or whatever is in that corner, and I took a look behind all of this stuff. There's no clue up here that what's going on. The insulation in the floor, I'm guessing it's probably not more than 4 inches at the most in here. Pretty light. I'm not sure whether or not these are 6-inch or 8-inch floor joists, but it'd certainly be worth your while to investigate increasing the insulation here. Be a pretty cost-effective thing to do. And at the same time, of course, this attic should be ventilated. If you improve the insulation, it would definitely be wise to get some ventilation through here, and at least operate the exhaust fan that they've now closed off over here. Okay, first floor half bath. Yeah, this was probably redone in the 50s. More of the wall paneling. Even put it on the door. No exhaust fan. It's not a requirement because it is an outside. Okay, last stop is the kitchen, and yeah, pretty straightforward in here. Ceiling is clear through here. Plumbing is right underneath. They've got an old electrical cable underneath here from what I would assume is an old garbage disposal. And if you're not going to install a disposal, that should be terminated in a electrical junction box rather than leaving those wire nuts hanging out in the open like that. Not a very nice thing to do. Yeah, heat is a baseboard unit partially blocked by the bench. Exhaust fan up here with the switch over here. And I think that's it. Let's see, anything else? All right. right, that completes our inspection, and it's 6604 West Cedar on the 12th of October 1995.